Support for WYES is made possible by Mary Lou Kristovich in memory of her husband, William Kristovich.
Good evening, I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, spotlighting the New Orleans area's arts and entertainment scene. Seated at our table tonight, Dr. Brobson Lutz, an internist by day, who also writes about health, of course, for New Orleans Magazine, but he is also a gourmet, and we'll discuss some summer dining options in the quarter. Great to see you again.
Thank you,
welcome,
Peggy.
Glad you could be with us. Making her Steppin Out debut, Emily Madero, CEO and president of French Quarter Festivals, here to discuss the upcoming Satchmo Summerfest taking place in early August. Welcome, Emily, to our table.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thrilled to be here.
Thank you. And she's back too, Clare Moncrief, managing director of the Shakespeare Festival at Tulane, here to discuss the current production of The Tempest, which is almost over, sniff, sniff, but talk about some other things she's got coming up. And of course, Steppin Out theater critic Alan Smason, editor of the Crescent City Jewish News, and Poppy returns next week. But first up, Emily. Bigger and better than the previous years, or some new stuff, some new food items.
Yeah,
and of course music.
Satchmo Summerfest is just a beloved festival. It's, you know, a premier festival celebrating the life, legacy, and music of Louis Armstrong. And so we try to do him an honor every year in bringing the best New Orleans jazz musicians, both traditional, contemporary, and brass music. But we're bringing Satchmofest back to the Mint. We're really excited to partner as they are reinventing as the New Orleans Jazz Museum. So it's just a really exciting synergy. We'll have the Women of Note, which is debuting as their new exhibit in concert with Satchmo Summerfest, and we've got 3 music stages, including an indoor stage, because it is hot in August. So we'll be providing dance lessons in between set breaks inside at the back of town stage, and we have a great kids area inside as well.
And you've got Nicholas Payton coming this year?
We do. We have some tremendous debuts. Nicholas Payton will be there for the first time, as well as our very own Stephanie Jordan, and we're very excited about that.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, Tim Laughlin, the usual suspects.
Absolutely.
Palm Court Band.
Hot Jazz.
Yes,
we've got some just amazing talent. And I think one of the things that I am really excited about as well is, in addition to the fantastic music, we have a Satchmo Symposium.
Yes,
which
I'm so
is
glad.
3 days of education. And I think what makes the music festival really unique in that we bring educational content and really make sure that we're bringing scholars in from across the world. We have folks coming as far from Europe, from all over the country, from New York, as well as local speakers to talk about not only Louis Armstrong, and the impact that he had in his own time, but also all of the reverberations and his impact in the fine arts and in jazz and music.
And I'm so glad you do. And I know you have Dr. Bruce Rayburn, who's one of our pals. But it's important to keep the drive alive in terms of some of these names. And for so many years, Armstrong played with Velma Middleton. I understand you're going to have a tribute to Velma.
Yes.
So that's great too.
Yes.
And so many local musicians played with Armstrong throughout the years. But to learn about the sort of the scholarship, the history of New Orleans jazz is very important too.
Yes, absolutely. And we're excited in the kids area. We're going to have the Tipitinos Foundation, as well as some other partners, actually working with children and the next generation of musicians, both giving them some lessons on brass instruments, as well as making some of their own instruments. So we try to really infuse the culture and the musical heritage from all aspects, both from the music that you can enjoy outside while you eat some of the delicious food that we have, but also making it a fun and engaging place from children to historians that are going to be here.
And back to the history too, it's really important to note, and I know Fred Caston's very involved as well, is that these talks are very accessible.
Absolutely.
It doesn't presuppose that you have to have a music degree. That's really important.
No. And in fact, some of them are not necessarily music related. So Louis Armstrong had a passion for, he made
Well, red beans.
Well, the red beans.
He really did love red beans, seriously, right?
But he also did his own art form. So we actually have an exhibit coming to New Orleans as a part of Prospect 4 that will showcase some of his work. Yeah, which is going to be very exciting at the Jazz Museum. And as a preview to that, we'll be talking about some of the work that he did. So we're excited. You know, we've got the all of the arts covered.
Yeah, well, I know he, of course, was a big letter writer, and he always signed his letters with green ink. So maybe this is an extension.
Red beans and ricely yours.
Red beans and ricely yours.
Yes.
But for more information, there's a website?
Yes, folks should go to fqfi.org, and we have the schedule up there for the symposium, as well as all the special events and the music lineup as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
and
you
is
for
it free, or
having me.
is there a small fee?
There's a $5 charge, so that will get you in all day long, and
that's
that
still
just
such a deal.
It helps to support our musicians and keep the festival alive.
And that's the other thing, is all the musicians are paid. It's not like they're being asked to donate their time.
Absolutely.
So you're keeping the drive alive for that as well.
We're really proud to invest in our local community.
Sure.
What a wonderful fest.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Thanks, I'm so glad that you could come and talk to us.
Thank you.
And we're staying in the quarter because we're talking about dining at some of Brobson's favorite places and what they've got on the menu.
That's right, and summertime, summer lunch and Antoine's should not be missed. You sometimes you have a place to yourself. Sometimes you've got some other people in there. There were 2 tables with women with hats. You know, they were local.
The red hats.
Yeah, and then there were a few tables with some tourists in shorts and baseball hats too. But anyway, it has to be seated in the dungeon, and you won't have to look at any of that.
That's still a nice.
But
look at this.
This is Charles. This is one of their famous waiters. All their waiters there are famous and well known. Every New Orleanian who spent time in Antoine's knows Charles. This is a Freddie Guest painting. Freddie
He's
had
so
the studio
talented.
down Royal Street and did that. But I was particularly fascinated with Antoine's in the summer because that's when they bring back their vichyssoise to the menu.
Ooh.
And I stomped the streets of the quarter from one end to the other, and the only restaurant I could find with vichyssoise was Antoine's. Ooh. But it's only at once.
Did you take that picture?
I took that picture. Now they won't serve it in a bowl. So if you want a bowl of it, you got to order 3 of their $20.17 specials, and then you can get a bowl amount of the vichyssoise. But it is worth it. It is absolutely classic. I was sitting there and I said, oh gosh, I wonder what guy in France came up with this. So I called Chef Rene Bourgeois at Palace Cafe, and I said, Chef, where in France did this vichyssoise stuff come from? He says, that's not French, that's right out of New York City. It was a French chef who devised it for a summer dining in New York, and it became very popular at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel up there, and so that's our
that's
origin.
So good to know. But back to the $20.17 lunch at Antoine's. That's a pretty good deal.
That's a great deal. You get an appetizer. The starters were 333 oyster of the vichyssoise or wedge salad, and then they had they had a drum that was delicious. They had a grilled pork chop on there, and then 3 desserts to select from. Ice cream sundae was terrific.
Okay, good to know. And then you're moving on to where else?
Yeah, well,
okay.
if you move
Rampart,
I moved up to Rampart, followed the streetcar up to Rampart, and Mobar's been there since before Katrina. There's been at least one ownership change and some chef changes recently, but they really have some interesting specials. One of my favorite nights in there is Monday, which oftentimes it's hard to find a restaurant that serves on Monday, but they have a chartreuse Monday drink specials, they call it. And some of the one called the Cloister in particular is my favorite. But last night, as a special side, they had the grilled okra, which reminded me of Poppy, because she was the first one who ever cooked grilled okra that I tasted. But anyway, it was it had fried basil leaves on it and a nice mint yogurt sauce. Had really fresh pompano with the skin still on it, perched on some flavorful rice. And remember this, on weekends, if you're out late, their kitchen is open on Friday and Saturday night until midnight, which is a hard place to find in the quarter sometimes.
They sure earned their keep with living through and surviving the whole, of course, the renovation of the streetcar.
The streetcar operation.
That was tough. And now it looks great, and everybody's sort of quickly forgetting, but you who live near there, it's like, it was terrible, wasn't it?
But the streetcar brought us the newest restaurant on the street,
right.
the real newbie, Effervescence, which opened a couple of months ago, and it's such a grand restoration of this double turned into this bar. It's one of the nicest, more modern restorations I think I've ever seen in the quarter. And you sit there and you hear the clanging of the streetcar go by.
That's nice.
And they've really the menu of small plates is really taken off. Grilled octopus was on it for a while. Grilled octopus is out now, but they have some interesting combinations. They have some caviar there. Their premium caviar is $95, which in New York people would think, come down here, they think they're stealing it, you know, for $95. But then it's served a little bit peculiar with Creole seasoning and potato chips instead of bellinis or something like that. But they'll bring you regular potato chips too. If you want to eat it.
Pay that much, hopefully.
But the bar is spectacular. The most popular drinks that they serve are these flights of champagne. And so you get line up four bottles or four different glasses and a pour in each glass, and they have great names like War of the Rosés, the British are coming, a Spanish prisoner, and these are all bubbly flights that are extremely popular at the bar. The happy hour, I believe, is from like 5 to 7. Very, very popular place.
Okay, great. And Brobson, what's your favorite champagne?
I like the Witta.
The what?
The Witta.
The Witta?
In the orange bottle.
Oh, okay. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Thank you so much. And New Orleans Magazine's quiz queen, Julia Street, has a question for us. Last time, Marguerite Smith named the Louisiana parish whose largest town and parish seats both have French names, and the largest town, Plaquemine Parish and Belchase. Its parish seat is Pointe-à-la-Hache. Just for Lagniappe, there you go. Now, tonight's question. Other than the St. Charles Avenue route, there are 3 other current New Orleans streetcar routes. Okay, email your answers to Steppin Out at WYES.org. Our prizes: a year's subscription to Louisiana Life magazine, cocktail napkins just in time for Tales of the Cocktail with the messages "Living in Zen" and "Eat, Drink, and Be Bloody Mary" from our friends at WearableVegetables.com, and a pair of free admission passes to either the Audubon Zoo, Aquarium of the Americas, or Butterfly Garden and Insectarium, and a New Orleans Public Service token T-shirt. Isn't that cool? As worn by WYES production assistant Burke Bischoff. Public Service is the company that used to supply electricity and operate transit in New Orleans. And this is artist Skip Boland's new T-shirt line. New Orleans Public Service, Inc. So go to NewOrleansPublicService.com for details. And there are some other really neat vintage shirts. There's also one of the Zephyr at Pontchartrain Beach. You can visit WYES.org when we have an online calendar to see our lineup of events. And you can also link to our WYES YouTube channel in case you miss our show. And now, Claire, I know we're coming sort of towards the end of the season of the Shakespeare Festival, but I so enjoy The Tempest. And tell us about how was the season for us?
This was a season of contrasts and collaborations and stretching ourselves in a number of ways. We had for a couple of years been studying the impact of Shakespeare being performed in prisons all over the nation, all over the world for that matter. And so we collaborated with Cripple Creek Theater Company, who part of their mission is social justice, and came up with what Emily Whalen, the director, calls Theater with the Lights On. It was a traveling production that could be performed anywhere, any space. And so what we did was take it out to the community, to Grace House, Bridge House, a couple of performances at Tremase Community Center, and then finished up playing to 200+ inmates at Dixon Correctional Institute in Jackson, Louisiana. So it was really exciting. And then, of course, to run to the other end of the gamut, we did The Tempest in a very traditional way, and we've been really pleased with the results. We also, of course, have had By Any Means Necessary, that wonderful improv group from NOLA Project doing Romeo and Juliet. And we had a couple of staged readings, Othello and Titus Andronicus. So it's been a pretty full season.
Now, this is the last weekend, and
Yes.
there are just a few tickets left. So if you want to go see...
I think there may be literally
none.
A handful.
A handful.
By now
okay.
It may be none, but if you want to try, you can check for Sunday's matinee at 1:30.
And also in the winter, you hopefully will come back.
Yes, that's the big deal. If you're missing, if you didn't get in this summer, we will be remounting this production as we do with a summer production every year in January of 2018, between January 10th and January 19th, for the purpose of giving schools a chance to, as a field trip, to come and bring their students to see live professional Shakespeare. So the full production that we did this summer will be there. And we do one night as a public performance in January. So if you've missed it, you can certainly get tickets to that and see the production.
It's hard to believe that the first season was 1994.
Unbelievable. Next year will be our 25th season.
Congratulations. Now, how do you choose? Do you just say, let me see what I want to do? Or, I mean, do you run it by some other folks? What is the process?
Well, several of us talk about it, but one of the difficulties that we have is, of course, my artistic director, Marty Sachs, would love to see us just run through the whole canon of plays. But we're also finding plays that will have public appeal, because we do have to have some funding. Yeah. Also, just a little bit. And then we also want something that will appeal to our educational component audiences, particularly for that remount in January, where we have up to 6,000 students come and see the productions there. So, and then of course you have to look at the checkbook. That's always an issue as well. The histories are very costly because of all that armor and stuff. So, so all those issues we look at, and somehow each year
you have to pay royalties for Shakespeare
plays? We don't have to pay
royalties. That is such a good question.
Absolutely not.
The other thing we should remind, though, is that some folks, because it's at Tulane, might think this is a student production.
No.
But not really. I mean, I'm sure there's students behind the scenes.
Occasionally we'll use them in smaller roles, but this is a professional theater company in residence at Tulane. We operate with the main stage season in the summer, and then we do educational programming outreaching to the schools during the rest of the year. But of course Tulane keeps us there, of course, by giving us the theater to work in and all kinds of things.
It's really primarily professional actors.
And I should hasten to point out that a number of the actors in The Tempest were from NOCA too this year.
Oh. Thank you for bringing that up. It was amazing, and sort of kismet or something. We have our Ariel is a graduate of NOCA.
Yes.
Our Ferdinand the Prince is a graduate of NOCA. Another of the actors there was a graduate, and then we had a couple of students who played in the smaller roles, and they weren't very small. Our spirits who seemed to be on stage at any given moment, and the talent from NOCA, let me just say, I'm so impressed, and thank you, NOCA.
But before we move on, though, a quick little item here. There is, in some of the scenes, there's this wonderful chanting going on, for lack of a better term. And it's very mysterious, it's very sweet. I just happened to ask you about this after the performance the night I saw you. Tell us about that.
Amazingly, there's a young lady, she's a junior theater student at Tulane. She wanted to be involved this summer, and I said, okay, great. She was going out of town for a few weeks and then was coming back for rehearsals. She came back, and although there's a lot of songs, the words to the songs written in Shakespeare's script, there's no music to go with it, so you have to do that yourself. She came back from her trip, and she had written all of the music. She trained all the singers. She performs herself, and she played flute during the program. I was amazed.
It is ethereal, shall we say?
Yes,
it is.
Beautiful.
It was beautiful. Just
and
beautiful.
Tyrrell Palmer is her name.
Oh, yes, we should mention.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Claire. And now it's time for our Artist Spotlight. Tonight we are featuring New Orleans artist Cynthia Scott. And this is Neo Flora. And then we also have Salad Compose, both digital prints on metal. Her current exhibit, Unnature and, and of course it's a time when plants and animals are no longer brought to life in a natural way. Interesting. It's on view through August the 6th at the Front Gallery on St. Claude. It's a little further down, 4100 block in the Bywater. Please visit their website to see more. And now time for Alan.
Well, I got to say, it's truly a shame that the summer production at Rivertown's Theater for the Performing Arts only runs 2 weeks, because this is a splendid production that they're doing, of course, of The Little Mermaid. In many ways, this is a better production than the one that the national tour came down here at the Sanger Theater. And I'm going to tell you, it would surprise a lot of people at how good it is. And of course, part of it is Christian Tarzetti, who plays the title role of Ariel, if you will, the Little Mermaid. Her voice is pure. She's lovely. Her acting chops are also top-notch. But in short, she's really, a great actress who brings it all together and really makes you believe she is a mermaid who wants to become human. Playing Ursula, the evil sea witch, though, is Drew Arnold, an amazing male soprano. He was flawless, and I have to say that I hope that one day we get to mount a regional production of Matilda, and he can be Miss Trunchbull, because he was wonderful. Overall, the costume's magnificent. You would expect that. Now, remember that these are rented costumes, so we can't really give them an award for that, but they did expend the money to bring these costumes in, and they're willing to do what it takes to put on a production of this sort. By the way, the choreography by Lindsay Romig is tremendous. Comic relief was provided, of course, by Jermaine Kellen as Sebastian, who, of course, has Under the Sea. He does Kiss the Girl, and Louis Dudasat also plays the more serious role of King Triton. Gary Rucker played Scuttle, opens up the second act with Positivity and a major tap dancing number there. And then the backup Murr sisters, if you will, are all great behind Flounder. Flounder is a dual role played in part by Christian Collins and other days played by Savannah Fushi. Let's just say, great music direction. Although my, one problem that I have, of course, at Rivertown, many of their productions, because of the cost, are taped productions. So I would just wish that it was a live orchestra. But other than that,
but they're singing, but the music.
They are absolutely singing, top-notch, wonderful singing. But the final weekend this weekend, I don't know how many tickets are left. They probably have fewer than you have, Claire, over at the Tempest. But anyway, The Little Mermaid is going to run through this weekend. Also closing this weekend, a remarkable production called 2 Rooms by Lee Blessing. This actually was done back in 1986. It was a production when the Iran prisoners was still very fresh in our mind. It basically tells us a tale of a prisoner captured in Iraq named, actually he's captured, and he is played by Liam Krause, and he of course has this this role as he's blinded. He can't see exactly what he's in. He's got a blindfold on. He's in a dark room, and so in order to commune with him, his wife, played by Cecile Montaigne, actually darkens her room, blacks it all out, and tries to live the same way as he's living, imagining how he's enduring this particular crisis. She's dedicated. She plays that part so raw and with so much emotion, you really have to see it. Also, some of her resentment is meted out to the press. Her husband in real life, Eric Charleston, plays one of the reporters. The press, of course, has its own agenda to sensationalize his capture. And, of course, a representative from the State Department is played by none other than Lene LeBlanc. Her first outing as an actor, because she's really a stand-up performer and usually does a little bit of improv as well. This play will make you think about much of what you have to endure if you're captured, things of that sort, and the way that people connect to one another. It runs about 2 hours and 20 minutes at the New Valiant Theater, just past the Parish Line on St. Claude Avenue. Again, 2 rooms.
In Araby.
That's right, yeah, but just barely Araby. I mean, it's just literally right over that line, right past Louisiana, the artillery. Jackson Barracks, yeah. One of the more interesting 2-person outings I've seen also is Constellations. This is now playing, believe it or not, at Outlaw Pizza on South Peters, a little bit down the road from your office there. It's directed by Tiffany Vollmer. It gives an American update to a British play that talks about the connections between the physical world and the very many different outcomes that can exist between people. Christopher Ramage plays Roland, and Emily Russell is Marianne. They were introduced to essentially a physicist physicist who understands Einstein's general theory as well as quantum physics, and how these two divergent theories, which are separate and unequal, if you will, are linked and explained by string therapy, and string theory, sorry. And they have a cellist who actually plays strings. She's Diana Abbott. She plays to string, if you will, all of these things together, the different scenes, 15 different scenes. It's a play about what can happen when a couple has a major decision to make, a life crisis, a critical nature, of course. Again, a really impressive work, I think, that Christopher Ramage does, as well as Emily. I think Emily Russell, they do really terrific work. It's a short, very small, very intimate play, and it plays out over the course of 2 acts. Again, you can get some pizza while you're there at Outlaw Pizza. On a lighter note, let me just mention that there's several things happening at the National World War II Museum. First, the Victory Swing Orchestra has major dates that start up this weekend. That's going to be at the BB Stage Door Canteen. And then on other Sundays, it's going to be Swing Sunday. So if you want to dance, hit the dance floor and have a good time, they'll have that as well. Also, Stage Door Idol is going on. They've had 2 weeks of competition so far. We have 2 wild cards that are possibly in the mix, as well as 3 finalists. They had a tie the first week. Don't forget, it all culminates on Tuesday, August 15th. That's when the crown of Stage Door Idol 2017 will be known. And then so another of other new shows that they're doing. I'll have to talk about that later. We've run out of time.
All right. Thank you so much now, Tom, for our picks. Brobson.
Oh, the artichoke and effervescence. It's slowly cooked, grilled, and doused with a sauce. This looks the saffron sauce is what they had last night. That wasn't saffron, but anyway.
Anyway, it looks good. It was an artichoke, right, Emily?
Oh, I have to say, come out and enjoy an evening of music with Jermaine Basil. It will be August 3rd. It's our opening kickoff party to Satchmo Summerfest.
Oh, okay, great. Claire.
Well, of course, Gypsy, our summer lyric neighbor at Tulane, opens next weekend, I believe.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that'll be Liz Argus. Camino Real, the Tennessee Williams Theater Company, is going to be mounting this Tennessee Williams production at the Marigny Opera House. I'm not going to be able to do a review on it because of certain circumstances, be unable to do that, but I want everybody to consider that, and hopefully we'll get a chance to get a shout out to them now.
Yes, we will, and we'll be talking more about them in the coming weeks. And my pick, the Musical Arts Society of New Orleans, presents the New Orleans Keyboard Festival and Piano Institute at Loyola University. It includes a series of guest artist recitals by past winners of the biennial New Orleans International Piano Competition. And they're also having performances by students of the Institute. Visit masno.org for more details on that. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Good night.